Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining both in person and virtually. This is our regularly scheduled February 8th meeting. And again, I appreciate you all being here. I'm going to ask Pastor Wesley Morris with Ozark Baptist Church to provide us an invocation, which will then be followed by our pledge. I would ask you all to stand as we recite our pledge.
Let's pray. Father, we bow our heads before you tonight. We thank you for the opportunity to call upon your name. Lord, we thank you for a moment for your good blessings, realizing that all good blessings come from above, and we're thankful for it. Thankful for our gathered here tonight for the meeting. We pray, God, that your hand would be upon it. We pray, Lord, that you bless everything that takes place tonight. We pray that you bless our leaders, Lord, give them wisdom and understanding to be able to make decisions that would be pleasing to you here this afternoon. Thank you once again, Lord, for this community that we live in and this country that we live in. And we pray, God, that you put your hand on it. Bless it always. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Morris, and thank you all for your participation. Council, you have your packets and the agenda in front of you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Staff? Mr. Wyatt? Thank you. If there are no adjustments, Council, I'll ask for a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next items on the agenda are consent items. They're considered routine by the council and will be approved in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless council requests so. I believe we've got 4 sets of minutes, budget amendments, annexation requests, scheduling a public hearing date, and a master service agreement as well. So, council, if there are no adjustments, I'd ask that we make a motion to approve the consent.
Make that a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, receive the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda are presentations and recognitions. First one is our Town of Troutman Employee of the Month for January. Mr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, for our Employee of the Month, I'm going to turn it over to the Direct Supervisor, and then I'll follow up with comments after him.
So for the month of January, Miss Jessica Davidson is our Town of Troutman Employee of the Month. Can you come on up? She's also got her pride and joy here tonight as well. But we would like to congratulate and recognize Jessica as our January 2024 Employee of the Month for the Town of Troutman. She is our customer service representative / utility billing specialist / a bunch of other things that we don't have room to name them all. She has been with the town since April 2023. When she first started, we threw a lot at her plate. You know, that's a lot to learn just in her job up front. But then we said we're also starting this passport program, and you know we want you to learn that role as well. So she did. And oh yeah, by the way, once you start learning that, we also want you to be a backup as town clerk in case Kim can't be here. So, obviously, we just threw her right into the fire. She never complained during that whole process. You know, that's a lot to learn for anybody, especially in a growing town with a fast-paced environment. And even though she had all that on her plate, she never complained. She always came to work with a good attitude, a smile on her face, eager to help everybody. And that's the main comment that I hear about Jessica from other people. Because I don't always get to, you know, I'm in the back and they're up here, but everybody just tells me how nice she is and how she's always got a good attitude and just a joy to be around. And I know if I'm ever in a bad mood, I can just walk up there and she'll joke or say something and just get me in a good mood. But anyway, she's a joy to work with, and she's got a positive impact on our citizens as well as her coworkers. Unfortunately, her team couldn't be here tonight. They had prior obligations with family things and everything else going on in life, but they did apologize for not being here tonight. But she's a dependable employee, and she does a great job, and we're lucky to have her on our team. So congratulations, Jessica.
Hang on. I appreciate all the comments that Justin gave, but not to put too much of Jessica's personal business out there. But in addition to everything that Justin said, last year was a very emotional year for several factors that was happening within their family. One, her daughter went into labor prematurely and gave birth, and the granddaughter is here tonight with us. Everybody see how beautiful she is. I forget, it was less than 2 pounds? 11 ounces was that little baby girl, and that was there. Not only that, but there was complications with Jessica's daughter afterwards, life-threatening complications. In addition to that, we had all these job responsibilities we were throwing at her. And we all know people have different personalities. Jessica, similar to another staff member, Emily here, is a fixer. If there's something wrong in town, we need to make it right. And regardless of all those burdens that she was shouldering personally and professionally, she still took time to ask coworkers, "Are you okay?" Which is quite humbling and very emotional to me, knowing what all she was dealing with, that she still wanted to make sure everybody else was okay in the workplace. Always with a smile, as Justin said, willing to go get breakfast if somebody seemed to be overly bearish, I think is what she told me one morning. But just a super personality, and I echo what Justin said.
Time I get the chance to show off my baby. Thank you.
I would only say that every time I see Jessica as well, she's always got a smile and something positive to say. Appreciate your support of the council. I know it's always, tough when you've got family matters going on as well as what's going on, at work. And so, again, we appreciate it from the council. We thank you for all you do. Beautiful granddaughter. Glad to see she's healthy and daughter's doing well. So that's awesome. The next item on the agenda is recognition of Miss Iredell County and Miss Iredell County team. Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to ask Jamie Logan, Miss Iredell County and Miss Iredell County teen Piper Pollard to please come up to the podium. They are our current representatives of Iredell County and come to introduce themselves and give a little bit of introduction about what they're doing during their reign as beauty queens.
Awesome.
Do you guys care if we stand over here? So we
No, you're good.
Okay. I don't know how we follow after Jessica, but congrats, Jessica. So my name is Jamie Logan, and I have the incredible opportunity to serve as Miss Iredell County 2024.
Hi, I'm Piper Pollard, and I also had the amazing opportunity to be your very first Miss Iredell County's teen and serve this amazing community.
So Piper and I represent the Miss America opportunity. If you're not familiar, it's the largest scholarship provider for women across the country. So Piper and I will go on to compete for the title of Miss North Carolina and Miss North Carolina's teen this upcoming June. So throughout our year, we promote something called a community service initiative. And essentially that's something that we're passionate about. Mine is about involvement and participation in sports. So I've partnered with some really awesome organizations this year and many more to come, but Girls on the Run, Special Olympics, Iredell County Parks and Rec, we're working together for a sports day this upcoming spring. The list goes on, but throughout our year, we essentially will promote RCSI, and mine is about involvement and participation in sports.
Mine is about stress reduction within our youth. So often, kids' feelings are dismissed as a temper tantrum or just acting out, but really, they don't understand what stress is and how to deal with it. And so with this, my community service initiative is called We Tai Chi. I am teaching Tai Chi to our elementary and middle school age, as well as the high school age, and it's a way for them to cope with their stress. I have had the amazing opportunity to already visit several elementary schools, and I look forward to further implementing them within our communities.
Awesome, great. And we look forward to seeing both of you as Miss North Carolina and Miss North Carolina teen. So congratulations on where you are today and where you'll go. Awesome initiatives that you've taken on, and we appreciate that in our community and look forward to hearing more from you.
Can I ask you a question? Were you at the last national night out that we hosted? I believe you were.
We got crowned in November, end of November.
Right, but you were still here though, right?
We were not here.
You weren't? You look familiar. Sorry.
Well, next one, let us know. We'll be there.
What a pickup line, I tell you.
To clarify, after Councilman Hinkle, there were some.
I'm sure Miss Oxford is watching this.
I hope she is not, but she was there. No, there were some other beauty queens that were there from the area that took pictures with my little girl. Internet. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Turn my mic off.
Yeah. So the next item on the agenda, special recognition. I look forward to this. Recognition of wrestling coach Bill Mayhew in his extraordinary coaching career. I'll turn it over to Miss Miss Watson.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're honored tonight to recognize Coach Bill Mayhew for his excellence in his wrestling career. Brent Bussell from our department here has worked alongside Coach Mayhew for many years, so there's no one more fitting to present this recognition than Brent. So Brent's going to take care of that now.
Thank you. For the last 60 years, Bill Mayhew has been the coach of South Iredell High School wrestling team, along with Troutman High School. And along with him has been, in his 60-year journey, has been his wonderful wife, Mary. Bill is a coach for all ages because all he does for the wrestlers, the school, and this community. Bill Mayhew is everything a great coach strives to be. I've had the honor to work along with Coach Mayhew for 27 years and have learned to be a better person because of his values and his strong Christian witness. He is a great husband, father, grandfather, and father figure for all those who he has touched. He is a role model for all young men, and yes, even coaches. Tonight we're here to recognize Coach Mayhew for breaking the record of most dual match wins in North Carolina. This happened on December 16th, 2023 at East Wilkes High School. He, right now, his record is at 923 wins. Other achievements for Coach Mayhew is he is a member of the South Ardell Hall of Fame, Mooresville High School Hall of Fame, Ardell County Hall of Fame, North Carolina High School Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame, North Carolina Coaches Hall of Fame, the National Wrestling Council Coaches Hall of Fame. Coach Mayhew and his wife are proud residents of Troutman, North Carolina, and Troutman congratulates him on his many achievements. Coach Mayhew, thank you so much for all that you do for our community. We love you and we respect you.
You are, absolutely. Yes, you are.
I just want to say, I'm proud to be in Troutman, okay? I grew up, down at exit 42, a lot of people might not know that, but I grew up right there at exit 42. I did go to Mooresville High School, instead of going to Troutman, but I came back the only time I've been away from here is when I went to Appalachian to wrestle and play football, and I came back at Troutman High School with Rafster and Clarence, some of you know, and we started a wrestling team, and I was head football coach there. And I went to South Iredell, and I've been there ever since. And I want to say that I enjoy this town so much. When I go in, everybody's so nice, okay? Everybody's nice, and everybody's so helpful. I have never come up here that people didn't help me, okay? So I know a lot of these people in here. I had them in school, okay? Know a lot about them. I'm not going to tell everything I know about them.
He used to chase us with a truck if we was running too slow.
But I do want to thank you for this honor. It's a great honor. Mary, come on up with us, okay? Don't be sitting down there. I'm sorry. This is my wife, Mary, and she's been kind enough to let me coach for 60 years. And again, thank you so much for this wonderful honor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Coach. Coach, good to see you.
Mayor. Bill.
Coach, before you do that, I'm gonna hand you this, so you can take a photo with it, but the Town of Troutman Certificate of Recognition on behalf of the Town of Troutman, its citizens, and the greater Troutman community, I, Mayor T.R. Young, recognize Bill Mayhew in receiving the honor as North Carolina's high school all-time most winning coach in the sport of wrestling with 923 wins, 60 years in the coaching profession, and for investing your time and talents to the community, schools, students, and to the sport of wrestling. Sign this day. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
And I was gonna say, I too, went to South. Coach was there. I've known Coach for a long time. And, as I always say, Miss Mayhew always been there as well. And I went to school with, her daughter. And so, I appreciate all you've done for our community, and just being such a, role model for a lot of men. I would say I've traveled, actually the country. I've met other folks who wrestled, and one thing they've always said is, man, we could never beat South Iredell, and you're why. So again, we appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
I was gonna say, y'all hear me say a lot. I was born and raised here, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if you remember my dad, Gary Clark.
Oh, absolutely, yes, absolutely.
And Leslie Clark and Michelle Clark and Lawrence Clark and Gary Clark. Those are all my brothers and uncles who Mr. Mayhew coached.
Oh, I've got plenty of people that,
Yes.
I can't go to the grocery store without running into something.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayhew. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will have our standing quarterly reports, first with the Troutman Fire Department. And I'll ask our fire chief slash pastor, Wesley Morris, if he would come and present our fire department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council staff. It's an opportunity to be back to share with you some of the things that's going on with the fire department. I'll start with our call volume from 2023. It is up from the previous year. As I've said, that seemingly has kind of been a repeat for the last several years now. But our total call volume last year was the highest it's ever been, and we ran 3,254 calls last year. We had, this is total training hours. I'm kind of proud of this, just to be able to our folks to put this many training hours in, but this is total man hours. We had 7,749 total man hours of training last year. We do have some things that we have got completed. Station 3, seemed like it's been redundant that I've been up here every time saying we're just in this process and it's slow, but we finally did get a CO on our Station 3, and so it is completed. Just to quickly remind you what we did over there, it was some upfit as well as addition. We did add 2 more bays, larger bays, onto the station. We added some sleeping quarters, which were new projects or new construction, and then we upfit the kitchen and the living space. Turned two of the existing bays in the old station. We turn that, possibly next time I'm here, I'll try to have some pictures of Station 3 that maybe we can put up on the screen so you folks can see it when I come back next time. So we're done with that project, and now we have staffed that station with 3 personnel. And when I say 3, that's per shift. So we have 3 personnel riding Engine 1 out at Station 3 now. Per shift, ABC shift. Engine 3, I've mentioned that, our new Engine 3 that we had ordered. It has finally started. I got some pictures of it last week of the construction there in Wisconsin. And so it is, the cab and fire body has been fabricated, and so that should move on pretty quickly. And we're still anticipating going up for a final inspection, probably, I would say sometime in April, maybe end of April, and it'll be delivered sometime after that. Staffing wise, we're still currently 3 personnel short with staffing. We are in the hiring process. In fact, we were having interviews before we came over here for the meeting, hopefully to get those positions filled and by March and be fully staffed in with our personnel, which that will mean we will have 4 personnel at Station 1, 3 personnel at Station 2, and 3 personnel at Station 3 on each shift. So we're excited about that. We did have our 1st of January, we had our 5-year state rescue inspection. That's where the state comes in and we have to verify the equipment that is required by the state to maintain rescue certifications. And we passed that, and so we still currently hold the rescue certifications that we had. In case you didn't know, I'll remind you of what that is. We are heavy rescue, BLS, basic life support, ambulance provider, high angle rescue, trench rescue, water rescue, which encompasses swift water and surface water, and we are VMR, which is vehicle rescue. We have a state certified class plan for March, which is ag and machinery. That will be another specialty rescue class that we will hold after we get that. We do already have the equipment. We just got to have the technicians. And that ag is not only agriculture related incidents that we will be trained on, but it will be machinery, and we think would be good for some of the industrial settings that are coming to our area. And when you think about ag, you think about just farm machinery, but it's construction as well, as far as the track goes. Bulldozers and that kind of thing, as far as any emergency situations that we're involved in. So this class will get us certified in that as well. So some of the things going on around the fire department, we've been busy, but that kind of gives you a summary of what we've been doing across the street. If you got any questions, be glad to try to answer.
Any questions for Chief?
I just wanted to commend that, I think that's where the action is in towns, it's fire department, believe it or not. Movers and shakers and getting things done, and I'm glad you got the fire truck coming sometime in April and thereafter. I'm glad, and Station 3, I'm glad to see you finally got that, behind you. And 4, 3, and 3, that sounds good to me when I remember when it's all volunteer and one station here in downtown, that was it.
Yes, sir.
So we've come a long way, and as you say, we're a growing and vibrant community, and I was glad to see the fire department staying up to speed with it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
The 3 positions, they're full-time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Three positions that we're short and we're hiring for now will be full-time personnel.
Hi, Chief. Great job, of course, as always. Is it working out with the county, with the purchasing of the new apparatus and rigs and trucks?
So far, it's working out. It's worked out good for us. Our first engine that we got, our engine 1 over there now is a fairly new engine. And so, I mean, it's really just a couple of years old. And we got this engine, we'll have another replacement engine that'll be taking place here in the next year or so to replace an engine that will put a new engine down at Station 2. And with that, we'll have fairly new apparatus so yes, sir, to answer your question short, they're pretty much doing what they said they were going to do.
They're letting you guys have a lot of input on your specifications for the rigs and whatnot too. Right?
Actually, to answer that question, we have total.
Excellent.
We build the truck the way we want it. We're satisfied with this engine 1, so it's worked out good that we've pretty much just made a carbon copy of this truck to put out of Station 3, and that's probably what we do, and the county's let us do that completely.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is our J. Hoyt Hayes Memorial Troutman Library. Ms. Hicks. Those of you who are here for recognitions, you're welcome to leave. So good night. Thank you. He's coming back.
I'm here to report since October to January. Kind of missed last month, sorry about that. We still have a lot of in-person programming going on for the toddlers and preschoolers. They have story time. We have Discovery Club, which is a STEAM program for the young, kind of upper elementary age kids. We have team programs. We have a monthly program for families and their kind of upper elementary to middle school kids. We have a couple of adult programs for we still have the craft program, we still have a book club. And I won't bore you with all the numbers, but I will say in the past 4 months, we had over 23,000 come in our door. So that's a lot of people. We enjoyed working with Parks and Rec, doing the Halloween thing. We know we reached out to over 1,000 kids. We gave them all a little bookmark, some candy, of course, and a little flyer telling them some of the upcoming events that we were going to have at the library. Let's see. Our Saturday story time that we started a few months back is doing pretty good. It's growing kind of slow, but it's okay. The kids get to do a program. They have a story. They get to usually do a craft, and sometimes they even have a treat. We studied apples one day, and they got to cut up and taste different apples, and they liked that. We had a holiday party in December, and the Monday Night Pickers performed, which went well. We had over 200 people come in the door, which was good. And as they came in the door, they were showered with a little snow shower. So, it might be the only snow y'all see in Troutman. So if you didn't make it to the Christmas party, I'm sorry, you missed the snow. So it's your chance. We are happy to say that the Troutman Friends of the Library have elected all new officers, and they're working hard to kind of reorganize their group. so that they've come up with a new logo. They have a new little pamphlet and everything out. They've got merchandise for shirts to support. Any of the sales that they do go to help help the programs at the library. We couldn't have the programs that we have without the Troutman Friends of the Library. And so if you're not a member, feel free. It's only $10. We also wanted to let the public know that we are closed on March the 22nd, which is a Friday, for our annual Staff Development Day. The county has us do this where all 3 libraries get together and we learn new techniques and ways to help the public. And I do want to say that in the past few months, we had a couple of local authors come. We had Ralph Dagenhart came and did a book talk on his book, Pop Smoke. And then we also had the pleasure of this lady's first book. Kelly Schmidt did a children's book called I Ship, and she's starting a little series. She did this book and talked to the kids about it, and this was really cool. And she's going to do, I can't remember what the next one is, but it's like iFuel, and it's different things to teach the children what other equipment does, with a story behind it too. Let's see, tomorrow, the Friends of the Library are going to have a Valentine craft making for the children. And then in February the 21st, we are going to have an African Folktales. People come and do a story and everything for us. We're excited to see this. Then we also are starting back our North Carolina Reads program, which is in part with the North Carolina Humanities that they do. They supply the books to all the libraries that want to participate. And in March, we'll be doing a book called Poster Girl, which is that picture that you all famously see of the woman holding up her, I'm not going to do it, but hold up her muscle, to show you. And then in May, we'll be doing the Violin Conspiracy. Haven't read either one of them, but I'll get there. We have had a few patrons express to us that the library gets a little loud when we have programs going on. And we're trying our best to keep that going. Sometimes people are there trying to study and work or tutoring, and the volume does get kind of loud, especially when you've got, story time or the Discovery Club going when the kids are learning stuff. They get a little crazy. So we just tell the people to please be patient. We're just one room. We're doing the best we can. But when you've got about 30 to 50 kids in there participating with this stuff, it does get crazy. So, if y'all ever want to see what's going on, come by on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock and just see for yourself just how crazy we are. I would like to, as the branch manager, to invite any of you guys who want to come to the library to see what's going on there, to see how much it has changed over the years and how much we are growing. We'd like for y'all to see what we do for the community. It would also give you an opportunity to see firsthand how much that the library does need the expansion of the program room to help meet the needs of the public as Troutman is growing the way it is. But we're doing the best we can, and we won't stop. And that's it.
Great.
Anybody have any questions or anything?
Any questions for our library manager? Great work. Look forward to all the things you'll be doing in '24.
We will.
So,
We do too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. The next item on our agenda is our ABC store. I believe Mr. Getzinger's here.
It's me.
Good
I
as always,
think
yes.
we had Evelyn down to do this, and I was supposed to be out of town, and that got canceled, so I thought I would relieve her of the stress and come do this myself. But anyway, it's not a stressful event by any stretch. Anyway, on behalf of the ABC board, which is Wes Edmiston and Kim Cavins and Evelyn, our general manager, and I'm going to say Evelyn, her real name is Evelyn Coleman, and she got married about 5 years ago. It's hard to kill a name once you have established yourself professionally, and so she's still known as Evelyn Walls within the ABC community, but I guess over time we will find a way to get it all transferred over. But anyway, us guys are lucky in the fact that for the majority of us don't have to deal with that. Again, I'm here to do the second quarter of this fiscal year 2023-2024. Wasn't here last month, but it appears that that was the case with all the presenters, and I guess that was because y'all had a full agenda last month, and really, I'm to understand y'all didn't get out of here or didn't get home till after almost midnight, so probably a good thing I wasn't here. And I'll try to go real quick in case there's another long night in front of us. Anyway, for the second quarter, we had just a modest uptick in sales over last year's second quarter. It was a little less than 0.5% increase over last year, and that was a total sales of $931,062, and in there obviously was November and December, which was Thanksgiving, and then the Christmas holiday season. And October and November were both upwards of 3.5% above what the previous month to year to date was, but December was down 4% over last December, and that we did $394,763 in December this year. We did a little over 400,000 last year, and the major reason for that was we had 2 fewer selling days in December than we had last year, and that's due to the way Christmas fell out on a Monday, and then, well, trying to think, I guess New Year's was into the new year, but anyway, so we had 25 selling days, which we normally have 27, and that would have taken us well over the break even with last year and then some. So our second quarter, even though our second quarter was slightly down in sales, we were up slightly in profit. And again, because some of that was due to the the reduction in expenses and in some cases invoices that had not yet come due. So it was a number of factors, some known, some unknown. But the net profit for the second quarter was $90,500, and that was 10% of our sales and 62% of what our annual budget is. Our budget for this year is $3,007,000, and we are well over halfway there now. And let's see here. Last year, I was just telling you that profit for this second quarter was $90,449. Last year, it was $88,268,000, so it was several thousand more than last year. Our budgeted profit after distributions for this fiscal year is $145,150. And our distributions for the second quarter, I believe Evelyn gave the town manager the checks earlier in the night, and $26,092 will the town receive. Excuse me. Law enforcement received $5,130, and alcohol and drug and education, which is DACI, Drug Alcohol Coalition of Iredale, they get $7,182. And our inventory at the end of the second quarter was $216,374, which is up over last year's second quarter by $28,000, and that was by intent. We wanted to make sure that we had plenty of everything on hand during the Christmas season, because last year we did run low on a few things that were popular sellers, and so we just felt like it was better to have more than enough, and then that obviously that it's not going to go bad, and it will sell pretty quickly, and already has, in fact. the current retained working capital is $447,779, and that's up against a allowed maximum amount of $618,948, or we're at 72% of our maximum allowed working capital retention. And so we've been building that back up fairly nicely. We just made a deposit a couple of days ago, and that took us up to $316,000 and change in savings. You know, the calculation for working capital is all your cash added plus your inventory minus any current liabilities that you have, such as your outstanding invoices and unpaid payroll. So based on our sales to date, and what we do is we have a calculator that, based on every day's sales, when we book that in a spreadsheet, it adjusts to tell us what our expected end of the year sales will be. And right now, if things were to stay the same, and that is based on an average sales per day, we would end up with $3,350,000, which would be slightly ahead of last year. And things, you know, sales are pretty much flat for the most part for this year thus far. I mean, it's, you know, with the economy the way it is and people having to make different decisions about their consumption, this is one of those areas where they've also made adjustments. And these numbers will start rocking back down a little bit as we get further away from the Christmas holidays, as the daily averages go down. The second quarter is typically our busiest day of the year, I mean, busiest month of the year. And the fun facts for the closeout is that we finished our 7th year of operations the end of November. And at the end of November, and these numbers actually are at the end of December because I did it on the quarter, forgetting that November, we started on a December 1st and closed the year ends at the November 30th. But anyways, we've done $17,429,000 in sales, total sales, net sales. And distributions since we've opened to the town, we've given $380,843, and that's not just to the town, but to its identified recipients. And alcohol and education rehabilitation, $86,520, and law enforcement, $61,800, for a total of $490,758 in distributions back to the town or the identified recipients. We have a net profit since the beginning of the store of $1,188,630. And that's after distributions, which is a 7% of sales, which is considered to be within the industry norm. And when I say that, is that profit, most of that profit, except for what's in savings right now, went back to pay off the store, to buy or to put in the warehouse to the store, and then to buy the lot for the second store. So all of that was paid for in cash. So now, I mean, we have no debt at this moment, but we are building our nest egg back up so that hopefully after tonight's business, we will have everything that administratively that we need to satisfy in terms of the ABC Commission taken care of. Tomorrow morning we will send out the final report that they need from us, and what they needed was wanted us to hold on to everything until we had the annexation and the rezoning completed. And assuming all that goes without any hitch tonight, then we will be going in that direction. And so after that, it's a matter of when the board feels like it's a good time to start the breaking ground, we'll put together the request for proposals and identify financing, how we're going to go about making it all happen, and then selecting a builder and going through the design review with the town and the building permit, a few things. So what's left to be done is local, and that's my report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions I might have created.
Thank you, Layton. Any questions for Mr. Getzinger?
So with the second store, is it gonna take you another 10 years to turn a profit like the first one?
Yeah, well, don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
No,
you
we-
were talking, Leighton, I was thinking, I remember being at a town planning retreat in February of 2000, year 2000. It was brought up then, someone brought up the planning retreat about establishing ABC store in Troutman. And we all laughed. Never, Troutman, never. Here we are, and we're doing quite well. And it was a little bit when we first, 7 years ago, I believe.
Right.
It's been, but that's quieted down. And, it's marvelous how times change, people change, attitudes
Right.
change. And, obviously we're promoting responsible drinking for those who choose to drink alcohol.
Right.
Responsibly drinking, but, on the other hand, discouraging irresponsible drinking, and that's the purpose of our store. Provide a service to those who would like to enjoy that service and are of legal age. So, but again, like I say, it's thinking then and now, we've come a long way and continue to move on.
Well, and it's due in large part to all the support you folks have provided to us and encouragement and buying the lot when we were just struggling trying to figure out how we were going to get the first store built. I think y'all remember the story, but when you asked me to chair the committee, I didn't hear the part about, and you need to find money to build the store. And you would think everybody would be falling all over themselves wanting to lend money to somebody to build a liquor store, but that wasn't the case. But here we are anyway, and we're excited, and we thank you for the opportunity, and I hope we get out of here early tonight.
Great. Thank you, Layton.
Thank you.
Just a quick question for Ms. Coleman. Now that I know the name. Fully staffed? Okay, all right, great. Thank you. All right. That moves us into our next item, which is new business. That's correct. And the first item is a annexation request, AX 2310, non-contiguous applicant BBC Rocky Creek LLC, 19.511 plus or minus acres, PN 474-049-0827, located off of Byers Road. I will now open this public hearing. Turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Yes, this is a voluntary annexation request. The property is approximately 9.5 acres in size. As you stated, the applicant is BBC Rocky Creek. The current zoning on this property is conditional zoning RM, which is mixed residential. This property is in our ETJ, so we've already rezoned this property. The applicant now is coming back to you for the annexation portion before they get started with construction documents so they can have access to town water and sewer. This is a non-contiguous annexation, and staff is recommending approval. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. This time, I will open it up for public comment. If anyone wants to speak on this particular request, please sign in at the podium, state your name. Okay, if not, I will close this public hearing. At this time, council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this request. We will now consider adoption of ordinance 0124, an ordinance to extend the corporate limits the town of Troutman, non-contiguous. Is there a motion regarding this request?
I'll make a motion. Annexation request AX 2310. I'll make a motion that we adopt it as presented.
That will be adoption of ordinance 0124 to extend the corporate limits non-contiguous.
Pardon.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a conditional zoning request, CZRM 2304. The applicant is Ness Homes on behalf of TCJ Development LLC, 11.52 acres. The pins are referenced on your agenda. 803 Perth Road at the northeast corner of Perth Road and Autumn Leaf Road. It is a request from Troutman Highway Business to Troutman CZRM Conditional Mixed Residential. I will now open this public hearing, turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a conditional zoning request. The applicant on this project is Ness Communities. The owners of the property are TCJ Development LLC. This property is currently in our town limits and is zoned highway business. They are requesting this evening that the property be rezoned to Troutman CZRM, which is a conditional zoning district, and it will be a mixed residential use, or that's the zoning classification, I apologize. The proposed use of the property is 134 townhome units. The property is approximately 11 and a half acres in size. On your screen in front of you and on the overhead, highlighted in red, you can see the properties that are involved in this rezoning request. The parcel address is 803 Perth Road. The next slide is a copy of our current zoning map. As you can see, everything in that orange color there is highway business. So the subject properties are in this area. You also have highway business at the intersection of Autumn Leaf and Perth. This is the Perth Mini Mart. This is a copy of our current land use map. The land use plan, the future land use map, does take into account that these properties are zoned highway business and is showing this node as neighborhood commercial. However, highway business is really a zoning classification for uses that are a little higher density, and I'll go over that in just a moment. This is a copy of the concept plan that was submitted as part of the application. With conditional zoning request, a concept plan is required. As you can see, there's two proposed entrances into the site, one off of Perth Road, one off of Autumn Leaf. The units will be spread throughout the property. There's also two detention facilities proposed, which is a requirement of our watershed ordinance. And I will let the applicant go into more details about their site plan during their presentation. Some zoning considerations I just wanted to mention. This particular project, the density on it is 10.42 units per acre. The allowable density is 12 units per acre. In the HB district, if this were to develop as currently zoned, they could build an apartment complex here. Multi-use housing is a permitted use in HB, so it wouldn't even have to go through the public hearing process. And HB does not have a density limit on apartment units, so I wanted to point that out. There is an open space requirement for the project of 10%. The applicant is showing 18. There's no project boundary buffers required because the adjacent properties are also residential. However, the applicant is showing a 25-foot buffer where it's adjacent to Colonial Creek. And again, I wanted to mention that this is within our watershed, so on-site detention is required and it is being proposed as well. I wanted to just talk a little bit about current zoning versus land use. The zoning on the property is HB, which is highway business. This is established to provide a wide array of primarily retail and service uses that attract shoppers from a larger area. Typically, highway business uses are going to be located at areas like Exit 42, where you have like your Lowe's, home improvement, or people may drive from a larger area to come to visit that store. Or neighborhood commercial is really an area that is designed to try not only zoning but also a land use that was designed for neighborhood commercial, exactly as it's stated, to provide retail services to the adjoining residential uses. Some of the permitted uses in HB zoning, by right, they can build multifamily developments or apartments. They could build hotels there, automotive and boat sales lots. You could have bars, taverns, microbreweries. You could also have any type of drive-through use, including restaurants, and then light manufacturing workshops. The current land use on the property is neighborhood commercial. And just to read that definition, I won't read the entire thing, but it talks about how these uses are intended primarily to encourage walkable commercial and mixed-use areas where you may have residential and commercial uses on the same piece of property. They're typically located along key corridors, and they are in with walking distance of neighborhoods. And as a result, the list of permitted uses within the neighborhood commercial district is going to vary from your highway business uses. If developed as neighborhood center, which is the land use, if this was zoned to match that, your larger retail uses such as shopping centers and retail centers over 30,000 square feet would not be allowed. Apartments are permitted use in HB, as well as townhomes are conditional. Again, this is in the watershed, so a watershed permit is part of this request. I also want to point out that a TIA was required as part of this application. Originally, the applicant intended to build the apartments on this site, and the original TIA was done for the density they were proposing on that multifamily project. When they decided to build townhomes here, they went back and adjusted that because it was a reduction in density or a change in density. I provided you all with a copy of that. However, I did want to point out that the recommendations did not change. So still what is being required of the TIA in terms of improvements has not changed, but I'll let the applicant go into those with you a little bit further in their request or in their presentation. With conditional zoning, a community meeting is required. This is an opportunity for the community to come to a meeting and basically get their questions answered, and speak with the applicant about the project. This was held on December the 19th. There is the required report included in your packet. There were only 2 attendees there that evening. So the recommendation that's being presented to you by the planning board this evening, they did recommend approval of the project. It was 3-2. It was subject to all the conditions that are being presented in your packet, as well as 4 additional conditions. One is that the applicant will provide an easement on Perth Road for future widening purposes to follow the Troutman mobility plan and North Carolina tip. Second is the applicant agrees to provide 2-car garages and all rear-loaded units. 3 is that all architectural conditions that were approved by the DRB will be incorporated into the elevations of the final product. I just wanted to point out, I mentioned briefly that this was proposed as a multifamily project. The Design Review Board does have the ability to review and approve elevations on multifamily units, so they did have some requirements there. And the 4th one is that the applicant will provide an increase in streetscape on Autumn Leaf and Perth Road to be submitted and reviewed and approved by the Design Review Board. That's the end of staff's presentation. As I stated, the applicant is here and has a presentation for you as well. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions from Ms. Hare? Okay.
I just want, Lynn, the IPS, the internal protected stem, IPS, but anyhow, that's 100 feet. What about the egress, ingress, the turning off of Perth into the development, turning off and Autumn Leaf into the development? What are those turning lanes? Are they 100 feet as well, or?
I cannot answer that for you. I don't know if the applicant's traffic engineer is here this evening, but they possibly could answer that. I do not know what that length would be.
Any other questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. The applicant here? Okay, great. Please state your name.
My name is Cameron Fox, so I represent the developer, Nest Communities. I'm also joined by Eric Wood and Dave Hughes and Mark Keim with Civil Engineering Consultants. They're a land planning and engineering consultant that we brought on to help us develop the plan set as we move forward. So as Lynn alluded to, we did have 4 comments come out of the planning board meeting. prepared a few slides to help illustrate and convey how we plan to incorporate some of those comments into the plan set moving forward. So,
Speak up, please, so people on, internet and also for the clerk.
sure. So what we're looking at here is a current site plan with a parking sort of diagram that illustrates the conveyance of parking between our one-car garages and two-car garages. So you've got a public street that kind of connects from Perth Road down to Autumn Leaf Road, and these will all be front-load garages with a driveway and a tandem space. So you've got a public street that connects the Perth and Autumn, and then a public street that cuts through the middle of the site, as shown. And then you've also got an alley-fed two-car garage with units fronting Autumn Leaf Road and units fronting Perth Road. So those will be a rear-load alley-fed product, and they'll be two-car garage. So the parking breakdown, so you've got 65 units that have two-car garages, 69 units with one-car garage, and one tandem space. The base ordinance requirement is actually one car per unit, if I remember correctly, and we're actually showing 2.3 spaces per unit. So the site's actually parked very well and can accommodate visitors as well. So the second comment that came out of the planning board meeting was the applicant will provide an increase in streetscape along Autumn Leaf and Perth Road to be submitted and reviewed by the design review board. So the space that you see in green is what encompasses that space that we're referring to as streetscape along Perth Road. So the base requirement per the UDO is for us to provide one large or small maturing tree, one every 50 linear feet. And that's very much dependent on where utilities end up, where there's going to be overhead power. So we'll have to, design this sort of in accordance with local and state, regulations. And then also the applicant will provide an easement on Perth Road for future widening purposes to follow the Troutman Mobility Plan and NCDOT TIP. So the line that you see here in the black dash line represents that offset from the Perth Road center line of 40 feet to accommodate any future widening needs that may occur. And here's a street section that just kind of shows what that looks like in elevation. So coming out of the DRB meeting, in our recent site plan, there was a base set of architectural restrictions following that zoning, and then coming out of that meeting, there was additional architectural guidelines. And there were 4 of them. So provide variation in roof line for the front facade of the building, add shutters to the front of the building where applicable. For front load units, add architectural details to provide an accent that detracts from the view of the garage door, and to provide a trim thickness of 6-inch minimum where applicable. So these were all in addition to the base set of UDO kind of guidelines governing kind of what the fronts of the buildings would look like. So from the time that we had the planning board meeting to today, we did want to illustrate how we plan to incorporate some of these things into the site plan. So we've got a plan comparison that kind of shows what the current plan in our rezoning packet is to what some of those adjustments might look like in the new site plan. So really not a whole lot's changed. The street framework is exactly the same. Really we're just showing how that 40-foot offset off of Perth Road to accommodate the future mobility plan, kind of pushing those units a little bit further off Perth Road to accommodate that future expansion if it ever happens. And this is a rendered site plan that just kind of shows the current plan fully rendered. We've got a 10-foot multi-use path as part of the Troutman, I think it's a capital improvement project along Autumn Leaf Road. So we've got, again, these units are fronting Autumn Leaf and connecting directly with a sidewalk to that multi-use path. And then you've got your standard street section, 5-foot sidewalk along Perth per the UDO, that the fronts of these units will connect into that sidewalk. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant?
Could you go back to the previous slide, new plan? Yeah. So is there a change in the total number of units?
There's not. It's exact same number of units.
Just rearranged?
Yeah, so, and I'll go back to the parking diagram. So one of the things that we wanted to do is show some connectivity in between these buildings. So if visitors wanted to come and have a parking place for the units that are rear loaded for this private alley, having a place for them to walk through and actually access the fronts of these units that are fronting Autumn and Perth. So there was a very small rearranging of units to accommodate sidewalks to kind of cut through these buildings, but exact same number of units.
And the private alleyway, is that typically those are one ways, right?
No, this will be two-way.
It will be two-way?
Correct, yes.
So could take a fire engine?
Yes, it could. However, with our public street, we would have adequate hose pull to be able to access all these units from either Autumn Leaf, Perth, or any one of our public streets internal. Typically, it's a 150-foot hose drag that's required for fire. And we would, if needed, we would adjust any of these radiuses for these turns to accommodate a fire truck or an emergency vehicle.
And I think just my last question, with the map revision, I know the total numbers of units didn't change.
Correct.
All right, but just the general layout did. Tweaked.
Yeah.
Right. So did that not necessitate a recalculation of like the open spaces?
No, we are well over our open space requirement. This is a little bit blurry. I think we're roughly 10 to 15% over our open space. So, I mean, the small tweaks that we made on the site plan wouldn't have an effect on that.
In regards to the emergency vehicle, availability, accessibility, are there going to be any deterrents along that road to prevent cut-throughs? Considering that intersection there, Autumn Leaf and Perth Road, gets pretty busy, especially waiting to make a left-hand turn on the Perth Road. I see a lot of traffic potentially cutting right through that public street. Are there going to be deterrents? And are they going to be considerate of the emergency vehicles?
Well, what I will say is the connection to Perth Road here, this is intended to be a right-in and right-out only, with some form of a median here to prevent people from cutting across. So that will be a right-in, right-out. So,
But I mean, the traffic only backs up making a left-hand turn on Autumn Leaf, so a right-out would be even more prime for a right-out only would be more prime for a cut-through to get, come into town off of Autumn Leaf.
Right.
If you kind of understand what I'm asking.
Yeah, I do. I mean, at this time, we really haven't gotten quite that far yet into the development of the plans. But this is going to be a full access movement along Autumn. So it's going to be it's a public street. So I mean, if somebody wants to turn in there, they'll be able to.
At the intersection there of Autumn Leaf and Perth Road, was there any recommendations from the traffic impact analysis for a future left turn lane being added, or consideration of property being given for that?
Kimley Horn did a comprehensive study for us. Actually, they did two. They did one for the recent plan. We actually had more units, more yield. And then they did an addendum for this new plan, and neither one of those studies had any form of turn lanes at that intersection.
Sidewalk on, Autumn Leaf, you said it's 8 foot?
It'll be a 10-foot multi-use path.
10 foot, okay, and then 5 foot on Perth. All right. Are there two entrances, you know, the one off of Perth, the one off Autumn Leaf? Now, those will be dual access, but they, you know, right in, or someone's coming the opposite direction, they can turn left into these entrances. Am I correct there?
The entrance onto Autumn Leaf will be a full access.
All right,
So that one you'll be able to turn either way.
right.
And then the entrance to Perth will be a right out and right in only. So there'll be like some form of a pork chop median right here to prevent people from being able to turn
So
left.
anybody coming south out of Troutman would have to go to Autumn Leaf
Correct.
to do the full access.
Correct.
In following up on Nick's comment about the road, the cut through, and I'm sure that'd be very tempting, as he said, sometimes, especially during rush hours in the morning and the afternoon. Would you consider some sort of a traffic calming hump, table of some sort,
Sure. Yeah, that's something that we can.
you know, to discourage someone from doing that? I mean, that'd be my neighborhood. I'd hate for it to be a cut through. I mean, you can't absolutely stop it, as you say, it's a public street, but somehow to discourage it at the very least.
Yeah, that's something that we can look into as we get further into the CD development.
So, okay, sorry. So, just for clarification, right, so anyone wanting to enter this from Perth Road, right, has to take the Perth Road Autumn Leaf turn right here, right, and enter through Autumn Leaf.
Well, if they're
They're
going
going south.
northbound, then they can turn right into the site. So it's a right in.
Right, yeah, but no, sorry, southbound. All southbound traffic will have to go through.
Right.
Correct.
And no recommendations, Brandon, we do already have a left-hand turn lane there, right? On Perth, though.
Yeah, we do. Mhm.
And the TIA, so we were able to get the study completed prior to this meeting, but it still needs to be submitted to NCDOT for their review and ultimately their recommendations on top of the Kimley-Horn study.
But I'm taking, just, and I guess I already know the answer, but I'm asking anyhow. So again, off of Perth into the Perth Road, if someone coming south on the Perth, the layout's gonna be, as you say, right in, and right out. It's gonna be designed such that no one can make a left turn if they are determined. Well, I guess if they're determined, obviously, they do what they gotta do, but, it'll be very discouraged. Layout will discourage you very much from trying something like that.
Correct. It's not really known at this point exactly what that's going to look like, but it could be in the form of a median sort of at the end of our public street as it connects into Perth, or there could be some form of a median that's actually in Perth, preventing folks from making that left-hand turn.
So all traffic that wants to go south on Perth Road has to come out to Autumn Leaf and make a left? 'Cause there's no, as the intersection there you're referring to, there's no left turn there, right?
Correct.
I just have one more naive question. It's probably more vernacular than anything, right? But public street versus private alley, I'm assuming that's industry terms. That won't truly be, well, I'm sure, will that pavement be turned over to the town?
Yes, everything within the public street would be inside of a right-of-way, and that right-of-way actually stops here. So all these labeled as public street would be turned over to the town. All the utilities would be turned over to the town.
Oh, so the private alleys would not be?
Private houses would not.
Okay.
So that'd be some form of the HOA.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Fox, going back to the photo that you had, the parking, those are actual, yeah, those will actually be curved in, or, so it's not just parking on the street, there will be some actual mechanism in order to get those cars off the street.
Yeah, there will be, you mean it kind of shown in the
Yeah,
pink,
in
the pink color here?
Fuchsia, right, or pink.
Yeah, typically, the detail's roughly a 7-foot space outside of the edge of pavement.
Okay.
Your typical travel lane. So I think it's a 7-foot by 21-foot on-street parking space, so you would just pull off right in. So it would be outside of your primary way of travel.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Fox? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open this up for public comment. Anyone here would like to comment on this particular conditional zoning request? Please state your name.
My name's Glenn Weber. I live right down there in the community. The roads that you're talking about are really a major concern, especially if there's no turn lane off of Perth, left hand with the pylon in the center or something. We live just beyond this point, and they widen for turn lanes. You wouldn't believe the number of times that we see the people use the turn lanes as passing lanes. There's no reason that when they have an intersection like that and there's a shopping market right across the street, there's a lot of confused traffic. They're all trying to find a place to go. So you're going to have extra traffic being forced down that can't turn in left if they're coming out of south out of town, like you said. They'll have to come down to an intersection. They're going to go up through. Autumn Leaf Road is ridiculous right now with the amount of traffic on it. I don't care what their TIA says. I drive down it regularly, and I mean, some days it's bumper to bumper. So there's no turn lane left hand going into the development either, which is going to back up right into Perth Road. If anything, there needs to be a traffic light at the end of Perth Road to try and help some of these problems. And I really don't know what the solution is on that, other than I don't think it's a good idea to put some sort of a positive block in the center of that Perth Road to keep people from turning, because somebody's going to hit it. We live just, if you go up the road just a little bit, just beyond the next development, we own the property on both sides of the street there. We've probably had, well, there's been 2 people killed in our front yard. One walking, one with the Corvette that wrecked. A fella come off the road, ripped his nose off. I stuck rags into his face to stop the bleeding. We've probably had, I'm gonna guess 10 cars upside down in our front yard. They've taken the neighbor's house off. That section of road is very hazardous. And I don't see this helping that at all. It's going to be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
I just would like for you to consider that, you know, that traffic is going to be a problem in that neighborhood.
Thank
Thank
you. Anyone else like to speak regarding this conditional rezoning request? Okay. Hearing none, I will close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare, you've heard from the applicant, as well as Mr. Weber as well, one of our citizens, and at this time we will consider adopting ordinance 0224 titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property for Town of Troutman Highway Business to Town of Troutman Conditional Mixed Residential. Is there a motion regarding this request?
I will make a motion. We adopt ordinance 0224.
Okay, a motion's on the floor.
Mayor, the motion also should contain a condition that the applicant sign the consent to the conditions.
Great, thank you.
I would like that added to my motion, please.
Motion's added to, addendum added to the motion to accept the conditions. I take the applicant will accept those conditions? Okay, great. Is there a second to the request?
I will second, sir.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other comment or question? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
No.
Okay, noted one. All those said that, motion passes. Means the next item is a statement of consistency. I would ask that the statement be read in full. Council, if you would, please read our statement of consistency.
Please, you want to read it? You sure? You go ahead.
Rezoning to conditional zoning mixed residential is consistent with the 2018 Troutman Strategic Plan's desire to provide different housing and price points in Troutman. Therefore, the proposed request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow residential development in areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
Statement of consistency has been read. Is there a second to that statement?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item is annexation request, AX 2401, non-contiguous, applicant C2C Land Development, 7.822 acres, PIN 465-909-6559, 1250 Charlotte Highway on the southwest corner of Charlotte Highway and Flower House Loop. I will now open this public hearing. Ms. Hare?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a request for voluntary annexation. The property in question is approximately 7.8 acres in size. The applicant is C2C Land Development. The property in question is located at 1250 Charlotte Highway. It is on the corner of Autumn Leaf and Charlotte Highway, or excuse me, Flower House Loop, I apologize. This is a non-contiguous annexation, and staff is recommending approval.
Any questions for Ms. Hare? Anyone here from the public like to comment on this annexation request? Okay. I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding the request. We will now consider adoption of ordinance 0324, titled An Ordinance to Extend the Corporate Limits of the Town of Troutman, Non-Contiguous. Is there a motion?
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item is a rezoning request for the property that we just annexed, RZ 2401, applicant C2C Land Development, 7.8 acres. PIN is again provided, 465-909-6596. Actually, it's the 1250 Charlotte Highway on the southwest corner of Charlotte Highway and Flower House Loop. It's being requested to be rezoned from Iredell County residential agricultural to highway business. The rezoning is in conjunction with, again, the property's annexation. This rezoning, again, is as we just described, so I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, sir. This is the rezoning portion of the annexation we just heard. It is customary that when we do annex a property, we bring it into the town and we need to assign it a zoning classification. So the applicant here is C2C Land Development. They're also the property owners. Currently, this property is in Iredell County, so it's zoned RA, or Residential Agricultural, by the county. They are requesting that the property be rezoned to HB, which is Highway Business. This is a traditional zoning, not conditional, so no site plan is required as part of this application. And the property is approximately 7.8 acres in size. In the screen on the screen in front of you and on the overhead, you can see the property in question outlined in red on the corner of Highway 21 and Flower House Loop. This is a copy of our current zoning map. All the properties you see in white here are in the county in zone residential agricultural. I do want to point out that these properties in this area that are orange are in the town limits, and they're currently zoned HB. This is a copy of our future land use map. The property in question this evening is not included on our current future land use plan. The reason for that is there was an annexation agreement between Troutman and the town of Mooresville, and that line went right here. Recently, that line was amended to include these two properties. So now this is in our jurisdiction, and so that is why it does not show on our future land use map. The planning board did review this at their last meeting, and they did recommend approval. I wanted to point out that the requested zoning to HB it's seen as being appropriate and consistent with the land use vision is contained within the Troutman strategic plan and on our future land use map, and that it's consistent with zoning on adjacent properties. This concludes staff's presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those, and I believe the applicant is here this evening as well.
Any questions for Ms. Hare?
And I'm sorry, I just want to ask very quickly, the little strip of land on the other side of 21,
Yes.
east side, how? It seems insignificant, but I've got to ask, what size are we talking about?
As you can see, linear-wise, it's the same width of the lot, but depending on the actual survey, and Mr. Densler may advise us exactly, but I know the lot south that'll be considered next is about 40 foot wide. There are utilities there from the gas company, and it's also in the state right-of-way. It cannot be used for any other purpose.
Ms. Harris?
I think I need to wait for my question for the next.
Okay. Great. No other question for Ms. Hare? Applicant here would like to speak, or?
Richard Densler, C2C Land Development. I can try and answer any questions you all may have about the property.
Any question for the applicant? All right. I don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone from the public like to comment on this request? Seeing none, I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from staff regarding this request. We will now consider adoption of ordinance 0624, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Iredell County residential agricultural to town of Troutman highway business. Did I miss 424? Sorry about that. Got the numbers mixed up. Now we're even? Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Oxer. Is there a such a motion?
I'll make the motion that we adopt the ordinance 0424 title and ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Iredell County Residential Agricultural, Iredell designation RA to Town of Troutman Highway Business, Troutman designation HB.
Motion's on the floor to adopt ordinance 0424. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of our statement of consistency. And again, I ask that you read the full statement. Right. Yeah.
Rezoning to highway business is consistent with the 2035 future land use map to allow appropriate highway-oriented commercial development at this location. The request is consistent with the currently adopted Unified Development Ordinance. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow commercial development in areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
Thank you. Is there a second to the statement of consistency? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a annexation request, AX 2402, non-contiguous applicant, Town of Troutman ABC Board, 7.6731 acres, PN 465-909-5027, 1270 Highway, Charlotte Highway. I will now open this public hearing. Turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a annexation request. It is non-contiguous. It's a voluntary annexation of property that's approximately 7.67 acres in size. The applicant is the Troutman ABC Board. The property, as you stated, is located at 1270 Charlotte Highway, and staff is recommending approval of this request.
Great. Any questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. Hearing none, anyone here from the public like to comment on this request? Okay. Hearing none, I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this request. We will now consider adoption of ordinance 0524 to extend the corporate limits of the town of Troutman non-contiguous. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that an ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Troutman.
Motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item is a rezoning request, RZ 2402, applicant Town of Troutman ABC Board, 7.6731 acres. PN referenced above in the annexation request, and it's 1270 Charlotte Highway, just to the south of the intersection of Charlotte Highway and Flower House Loop. This rezoning request is from Iredell County Residential Agricultural to Highway Business. Is again in conjunction with the prior annexation request. I will now open this public hearing. Turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rezoning request made by the Town of Troutman's ABC Board. They are currently the property owners, and the property is zoned RA in Iredell County. They're requesting that the property be brought into the Town of Troutman with the zoning classification of highway business. There's traditional zoning, so there's no site plan that's been included as part of this application. And again, the property is approximately 7.6 acres in size. On the overhead and the screen in front of you, you can see the property that we're considering tonight highlighted in red. It's just to the south of the property that we just considered at the corner of Flower House Loop and 21. Again, this is a copy of our current zoning map showing the property and the surrounding property zoned as RA, and then the Town of Troutman properties to the north here zoned as highway business, or to the west, excuse me. This is a copy of our current land use map. Again, this property does not show on that map. It was just south of that line, that annexation agreement line, so it was not considered when this map was created. The planning board did review this at their last meeting and recommended approval. That was a unanimous approval. And again, staff is of the opinion that there's highway business zoning in the area. We feel like that what's being requested tonight fits with the future land use map's vision for this area. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those. And Mr. Getzinger's here as well to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. Mr. Getzinger?
I just will
Okay.
be available for any questions.
Okay. Any question for the applicant? Okay. No, thank you. I will now open this public hearing. Anyone from the public want to comment on this request? Okay, hearing none, I will close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this request. We will now consider adoption of ordinance 0624 titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Iredell County residential agricultural to Town of Troutman Highway business. Is there a motion regarding this request?
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor, for approval of an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Iredell County residential agriculture to the Town of Troutman Highway business.
Thank you, Mr. Now. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Hinkle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of a memorandum of understanding between Morningstar Properties LLC. Excuse me, I did miss one. Approval of a consistency statement. Please read the statement in full.
Action describing consistency statement. Rezoning to highway business is consistent with the 2035 future land use map to allow appropriate highway-oriented commercial development at this location. The request is consistent with the current adopted Unified Development Ordinance. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow commercial development in the areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
Thank you. Is there a second to the statement of consistency?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. We will now consider a memorandum of understanding between Morningstar Properties LLC and the Town of Troutman. Mr. Wyatt?
Mayor and council, you all have the information in your packet. This is something that originally came up for discussion last month. The town attorney, along with these applicants' attorney, have went back and forth on a few things, and we recommend proposal as you have it. Gary is here if you have any questions from our legal counsel.
Great. Any questions from Mr. Wyatt? Any questions for Mr. Thomas? We will, I'll accept the motion regarding this MOU.
I will so move, sir.
Motion to approve the MOU. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. We will now consider appointment of Tanya Bartlett as an inside voting member of the Town of Troutman Planning and Zoning Board, filling the unexpired term of Kenneth Reed, whose term expires 5/14/24. Mr. Wyatt?
Mayor and council, Tanya Bartlett has been serving on the Planning and Zoning Board as an alternate member. Of course, as you explained, Mr. Mayor, Kenneth Reed passed away and that leaves the vacancy per town policy at the next regularly scheduled meeting. You all will just move the alternate position into that position for the unexpired term. Due to the expired term ending on 5/14/24, it is you all's option to do one of two things. Appoint Ms. Bartlett for a couple months, in which case you would return if interested and apply for the next 3-year term, or you can go ahead and make that appointment today, which would expire 5/14/2027. So either the 5/14/24, that's the dates in your packet, or 5/14/27, whichever you all choose.
Is there a motion from the council regarding this, or a question for Mr. Wyatt?
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Tanya Bartlett as an inside voting member of the Town of Troutman Planning and Zoning Board, filling the unexpired term of Mr. Kenneth Reed to expire 5/14/2027.
That would be to fill Kenneth's 5/14/24 and extending it through 27. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, public comments. The public is invited to address the council with comments or concerns. The public comment is limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers again must sign in at the podium and adhere to policy 51, title policy governing comments from the public at town meetings. Anyone here like to comment to town council? Okay. If not, we'll move on, because no one wants to stay here till midnight like we did last month. Elected official reports. I'll start with council. I'll start to my left. Mr. Zawinski.
I'd just like to thank the town and the employees for their continued service and getting all the decorations down from Christmas and soon back into storage. The town's looking great, and the greenway's looking clean as always.
Ms. Harris.
Just wanted to say, happy Black History Month. And like I said in the last meeting, I encourage anybody listening, anybody in the room, to go out and learn something new about somebody you didn't know about. I'm learning stuff new myself. So if you get an opportunity to just learn something different. I just wanted to say also, I said it in the other meeting, we had a great MLK program for those of you who weren't there, and we had lots of good feedback come from the community. Just thank you to Eddie and his wife for coordinating that event. There were so many people there, glad to see everybody there. And I believe that is all that I have.
Thank you. Mr. Now?
I'd just like to wish our residents a happy Valentine's Day, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Hinkle?
Kudos from what I've heard from my colleagues on the other end of the dais. I would ask Mr. Mayor and my fellow council members, can I quickly discuss the remote participation situation we discussed in the agenda briefing and meeting before that?
Yeah, okay.
I would suggest, based on the information that we received email from our town attorney, that he prepare an ordinance for us to come back for our March agenda briefing meeting and regular meeting to follow, allowing for remote participation, and I believe it's up to 2 times. I'd have to get to the details here and so forth, but anyhow, basically what I want to change is to allow remote participation, or this change from our current ordinance to allow for remote participation to occur at rezoning meetings, and also to eliminate, I believe it was line number 4, which was if there's a tie, you would have to return at the following meeting. Excuse me. Yeah, if a remote vote of a council member is the deciding vote, the motion shall be continued to the next regular meeting of the town council. I would suggest, my fellow council members agree, that be eliminated. But again, the main thing is that zoning issues be allowed to be voted on by remote participation of a council member who's unable to attend. All other stipulations under our current remote participation policy remain in effect. That's, if anyone wants to add or subtract from that, please feel free to do so. But prepare an amendment to our remote participation to change those two items that I spelled out unless otherwise stipulated.
So that's an amendment to the policy that you're
Yes,
asking?
amendment to.
Not an ordinance, I just want to make sure.
Well, thank you, sir, yes,
Yeah,
the policy,
okay.
yes. I noticed that when I was looking, it's not an
Yeah,
ordinance,
yeah,
policy.
no,
You're
that's
exactly
fine.
right. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, Gary, I know there's, some thoughts about that. Any feedback on those items? I know it's unclear from a legal perspective, but on the
I think it's-
zoning piece
I'm
of it.
happy to make the change, and it'll be up to y'all. I think it leads to legal challenges on rezoning if somebody participates remotely.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments on the, I assume everyone had a chance to take a look at it?
Is that proposed as a mandatory participation for all votes at that point, or is it still gonna be voluntary if they're absent? Do they have the choice to vote or not, or to even be present via remotely?
The current policy does not dictate anything as mandatory. He just asked that 2 items be removed.
If somebody, if you allow participation, once they participate and they don't vote, then it's an affirmative vote by statute.
So it's just like you being here present?
Right.
But if they don't participate at all, then their vote just doesn't count?
Correct.
Participate in the whole meeting, or
Right.
they're at the meeting and leave, and the council would have to vote to excuse them.
Yep. Okay.
The only way that they can participate and be allowed not to vote is if they have a financial interest in whatever the matter is. Then I think the council would vote to allow them to not participate in the voting part of it.
If there
But
was some
that's-
conflict of interest?
Yeah, conflict of interest,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Basically financial, but that'd be the only grounds. Otherwise, as Gary said, it'd be considered affirmative if they just refused to vote or otherwise participate.
So can Mr. Wyatt and Mr. Thomas get together and pull us their changes so we can consider that
Yes,
at the
sir.
next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Will that be the appropriate time to ask questions? Next meeting?
You can ask them now.
Now?
I will inform you, I will not be at the next agenda briefing. Meaning you could do it at
So
the next
we've had,
regular meeting.
I know we were operating under different rules from state down when we were doing a lot of remote participation in years past. So one thing that I noticed when we did some of this is calls drop. So you said you would have to be excused, right, by vote if you're remote and you have to leave the meeting. Well, if the calls drop, does that mean we should stop everything we're doing and vote to excuse them, because that's a dead vote that's gonna hit the tally, right?
If you know the call dropped, if it had been dropped, if you don't know it's been dropped, then it's gonna be an affirmative vote.
I think we don't really know when calls are dropped, they just drop, right? It's not something that you check on.
So if you're doing something and it goes quiet and you voted, then that would be an affirmative vote. You don't know anything otherwise. And having voted to excuse the person.
And if the vote or the call has dropped in that momentary time, then
So one of the things on the policy, it says that you have to voice your vote, right? So if a call is dropped, I would assume you're doing a roll call. If I said, Ms. Harris, are you there? And Ms. Harris doesn't respond or answer, then she's either dropped or something else is going on.
As I heard Gary say that, that's just an affirmative vote if she
No,
doesn't
well,
say anything.
again, she would respond, I'm here. Doesn't mean she responded, yes, I'm voting, just responds that she's there.
That's just a housekeeping parliamentary procedure thing. That's not to go down a rabbit hole with what could be. We could be sued, we could be killed, we could be everything if we're gonna be, could be, would be. But the policy covers.
I'm home in that should be, could be, would be talk. That's where I thrive.
But that's where the mayor is correct in that you are, by our policy, supposed to poll the people. That does not mean they're supposed to respond with a vote, but if they're present and then choose not to, then it's in the affirmative, as the attorney said.
Yeah, you don't have to respond affirmative or in opposition, you just know that you're present. Okay? But we'll have the policy at the next meeting.
Y'all bring dinner next to Jim.
No?
That's when we'll pass it.
All right. I actually meant you bring dinner.
Fair.
Yeah.
And of course, I meant that facetiously, because somebody's gonna run with that one.
I pretty much ascertained that we know what we're looking for, so if Gary's not able to be with us, the agenda briefing, we can still discuss it.
Right.
And then will you be at the regular meeting in March, and then we can, pass it. So if we
Okay.
need to, he can be a part of that.
Okay. Sasha? Good. Council stole all of my thunder. Again, appreciate all the comments and
Sorry.
you still have.
I'm still, could be.
Yeah, okay, all right. Go ahead.
See what you got started.
I was calling off the dogs on the.
All right.
No, but yeah, just like was already mentioned, the Martin Luther King event was wonderful. If no one here was able to attend, if you were, you know what I'm talking about. But hopefully next year we can get some more involvement because it was truly a great experience. Thank you for all of those that are in attendance. I did learn. Also, I did check my phone. No nasty text messages, so I think I made it unscathed tonight. I won't be sleeping on the couch. But I also did learn right before the meeting, it is not, and I'm going to steal somebody else's thunder, it's not too late to sign up for our next 5K here in town, Sprint into Spring. I want my t-shirt. But yeah, also, so we're about to kick off a really, really great season for events in our park and in our town. So I encourage everybody to join in. It's going to be a great time here in Troutman. So thank you, Mayor.
Let me just say one thing. I'm gonna ask you a challenge. Mayor, if you sign up for Sprint in the Spring, I'll sign up.
Oh, that's not a
I'll see which
problem.
one can outwalk the other.
Have I missed one?
Uh-oh,
I'm
what-
normally
if I got
there.
myself into some?
If I do nothing else, I sign up. I never said I ran. So I don't know.
Okay.
You're in the
Well, I
hole.
can sign up.
No,
Okay,
you,
all right.
you were going. So
Okay, gotcha.
I got your
I didn't
participation.
say I want to finish the race.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want my shirt.
So Emily, you can sign him up to run now. So
We got
he's,
it.
he's in.
10K.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah, I should have moved on from Mr. Archer. He stole the last thing I was going to be able to say about our events coming forward. So, again, happy Valentine's Day and wonderful Black History Month. Look forward to comments from staff. I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
First staff member up is Parks and Rec Director Emily Watson, assisted by Mr. Reed Watson.
We had a basketball practice tonight, had to get picked up, so. Thank you. The Parks and Rec Department's been very busy the past couple weeks since we met last. Our maintenance team's been working on several projects. They built a patio and seating area with additional tables for families to get out of the sun on the other side of our splash pad. We were finding that our one pavilion just wasn't enough seating. So they've been working on that the past couple weeks, and it was 10 minutes after they finished, it was starting to be used. So we knew that that was a solution for a problem that was well received. So the greenway responsibilities were absorbed into our department in the past month, came out of Public Works into Parks and Rec. And they've been busy getting acclimated with those responsibilities, spraying weeds, picking up a large amount of trash that accumulates daily. Repaired ceiling fans at the depot, replaced our American flags down at the depot, the Lions Club little free library that's down there, pretty rough, so they made some repairs on that. Wagner Street today, spent a good amount of time getting cleaned up, large amount of cigarette butts, and just trying to restore some of that, some of the aesthetics on Wagner Street. So they've been working pretty hard on that in the past couple weeks, preparing for youth sports, starting at the end of the month, practices, field prep, getting all the nets on the goals. So the maintenance team's been very busy. So have a strong set of guys there, and they work really hard. You got to meet, well, you've met Brent before, but he's one of the leaders in that department, and so I'm grateful for these guys. So they've been working really hard. The events and programming side, Amber, our new employee in that department, she too has been very busy. Our craft show, vendor show in April, the registration's already full. We have twice as many vendors this year as we did last year, but all registration for that's full, but plan to come out and shop in April, but all the vendor spots are full. Our Valentine event went great this past weekend, so appreciate Lisa Crates and the Ruritan Club. It was a great partnership between the three of us, but it went really well received. Sewing classes for March. So there's a group of ladies at First Methodist in Troutman here that have come together and approached us and said we have a number of skills that we want to teach the community. So they're doing a set of programs for us, knitting, sewing, scrapbooking and card making, and they want to teach quilting. So they are coming in the next couple months. They're going to, one at a time, teach a series. So 1 month at a time, teach a different skill. So it's pretty cool. Our sewing class filled up immediately. We have 10 people on the waiting list. Scrapbooking and knitting is in April. So they're really busy, but it was, I mean, it's a great asset and a great resource for this department. So we're really excited to work with them. Sprint into Spring, 1 month away. Registration, sponsorships, volunteers, filling up, looking good in that area. Registration's on runsignup.com. Baseball camp, registration's open. That camp too is filling up. South Iredell High School coaching staff is going to be leading that camp for us. It's on the 16th of March. Grades 1st through 8th grade. Down in the park, we'll provide lunch. So that is filling up as well. And registration for the July 4th parade is open. So I know that's far off, but it takes us this long to get ready for it. So if you're interested in participating in the parade, go ahead and sign up. That's all we've got going on.
Thank you.
All right. So for the finance department, again, congratulations, Jessica, for being our employee of the month. The ladies really hated they couldn't be here tonight to celebrate with her. Tanya actually became a grandmother today as well. So that is why she wasn't here, and Kimberly and Susan just had prior commitments. So anyways, again, congratulations, Jessica. They've all been busy up front. For the month of December, Lou got me some phone numbers, and you know I'm a numbers guy, so I really like analyzing that data. But between the three of them, Jessica, Susan, and Tanya, Kimberly's doing, billing things, so we try not to bother her. And honestly, I tell Tanya, I'm like, don't answer the phone because you need to be doing this. Well, she answered the phone just almost as much just because of necessity. But they all three, between the three of them, they almost had 3,000 phone calls for the month of December. And there's some holidays, in there as well. So that just shows you, they're not just sitting up there twiddling their thumbs. And so we started thinking, and it's like, well, let's start keeping data on what those phone calls are for. So this week they've been doing that since February began. So I'm interested to see where those numbers are. But besides that, Neptune 360, the meter reading upgrade that we had a few months back, they've been dealing with a few kinks, but I think they've about got everything straightened out there. So that process has been going well. And now the big project, besides budget season coming up, the big project is Smart Fusion, the software upgrade that council approved last year around this time. We're finally ready almost ready to go live with that, either in March or April. So I just ask the citizens and everybody, just please be patient with us during that time. It's going to be a learning curve for all of us. Honestly, it's really scary, just because, you know, it's a brand new software for all of us, so we'll just all have to learn together. But it'll be a good thing. But, you know, at first it's going to be, they're probably going to be yelling at me, why did we do this, you know?
It's going to skew your phone call data.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. But anyways, I've been in touch with them this week to try to get a date ironed out so that we can, because they, well, anyways, we'll just keep going on. The other thing is obviously gearing up for budget season, so we've started, you know, working on that, and I'm starting to, the town manager always says bean counter, but yeah, I'm starting to crunch some numbers and see where we're at, you know, compared to the last year at this time, compared to the previous year. So just on and on and on, as many numbers as you can think of. But the department heads are doing a great job as always, and again, they always make my job easier. But we've been having a few meetings, you know, between the department heads. So we're looking forward to our February 26th strategic planning session. So that's all I've got.
I got one comment. You said Tanya just became a grandmother.
Yes, this morning.
You know, grandmas don't look like they used to when I was young. Yeah,
I know.
They look so.
Yeah, I was getting ready. Yeah.
Okay.
When Jessica first told us, that's what she said.
I'll just leave it at that, though. They don't look like they did when I was a kid, so I'll just leave it at that.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to give you an update on some of our projects. The Tally Rumpel Wagner, the sidewalk projects that we have a grant for. It's been slow moving, but it is progressing. It is a federal grant, and as times are state grant, they take a lot of time. They don't get in a hurry, but we have reached a point where our right-of-way plans have been submitted to NCDOT. That happened on Monday. So once those are approved, we will be able to start right-of-way acquisition. So our environmental documents were finally approved. So we are making some progress. I just wanted to give you all an update on that. I also wanted to let you all know that I think I mentioned before Christmas that we were going to be applying for a grant through CARTPO for improvements to the Murdoch, Old Mountain, and Main Street intersection. And one of the reasons we're able to do that is because of that mobility plan that you all adopted and that we created. That was reviewed by CARTPO, by the TCC, and it is on the list of projects to be recommended for funding. That will go before the CARTPO board on February 21st. So hopefully we'll know by the end of the month whether or not we receive those funds for that project, which is exciting. I think I mentioned we've been doing a lot of plan review. We have approved a couple of plans for permitting. Houston Road Industrial has been permitted, as well as Tractor Supply. So you might start seeing some dirt moving on those properties soon. Also, Shane's been doing some training on minimum housing. That's something that, as a new code enforcement officer, he hasn't had a chance to get trained on that, so he's working on that. He has 3 active cases, did a big inspection this week on one, and is going to be holding a hearing on that. So I just wanted to point that out as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Lynn, can I ask you a question real quick? Do you have any updates on any of the other sidewalk projects?
Is there, that was Tally. Tally was included in that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
Tally, Rumpel, and Wagner are the 3 that we have the grant for, and so yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
that.
put yes.
And this may be something town manager, you know, obviously we've been, almost as long as we've been looking for a traffic signal there at the Walgreens intersection, we've been trying to see how we can get rid of that S out on Murdoch Road. Is that almost a dead issue now? You know, one time it was seriously considered, and, you know, I've heard nothing about it for a number of years and so forth.
The development of that area, according to DOT, the development of that area will dictate how faster that gets done. So even though projects are approved, there's not buildings in the area for them to warrant spending their funds. The other part of that equation is I-70 and I-40, I-77 and I-40 went way over budget, and several almost a decade longer than it was supposed to. But they have spent all what they call extra funds, which was not extra, on getting that project completed. While they still have a few asphalt dressing layers to still do, it is practically completed. According to Representative McNeely and Senator Sawyer, this year we should see a lot more road maintenance, paving, and all that occurring, because that basically got put on the back burner. This S-curve, in my opinion, based off of that conversation, will even be further down the list, because that area, even though we've approved 2 projects, is still not being developed. Thank you, sir.
The police department for the month of January, we did see call for service increase from December, but nothing significant or of concern. We have currently 3 trainees are going through the field training program and are progressing along really well. Myself and Lieutenant Payne basically make up the command staff, and we've been working on already budgeting, getting quotes because cost increases that fluctuate, so we could try and be ahead on that, and also just reviewing all the statistics and data from 2023 so that we can prepare for the rest of the year of 2024 and for future plans.
Chief, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Completely off topic, but could you maybe just provide the proper resource to the community just right now of if we happen upon the remains of a critter in the middle of the road, who should we call?
Some of that depends on which roadway. If it's on the main roads, 21 North Main Street, South Main Street, Charlotte Highway, that would go to DOT. If it's on town streets, it goes to Public Works here.
Okay.
So our officers, they do, when they're on patrol, try to spot those things and get it to the appropriate person. Sometimes it can be a little while before DOT shows up to pick them up. But our Public Works Department responds pretty much immediately.
Thank you. That's remains.
There's other parts we could talk about.
Yeah.
First of all, I would like to think and also recognize, we've done it before, but Reed Watson being here tonight, for me, is one of the things, we talk about a lot of the work that the town has to do, and he has been a volunteer picking up trash on the greenways and other parts of town a lot. But it also goes to show our employees' dedications, and it's a real thing, being a parent to juggle what's what and what's what. I'm sure Reed didn't want to be here tonight, but I'm glad that he did, because it gives us an opportunity to thank him for his volunteerism that he does on a regular basis in towns. Thank you, Reed.
Thank you, Reed. Good job.
I thought he was going to give Public Works update.
The next topic of business is we put out first of last month a request for proposal for solid waste recycling collection services. At this point, we appear to have 4 vendors that are actively asking questions, and/or we anticipate will follow through with our mandatory meeting next week, and that will tell us the definitive number. But of course, the fees went from $9 and something to $15 with the current provider, and they had told us they was going up even higher, even though they didn't submit anything in writing to either except send us a bill. But we have put that out. I appreciate a couple managers in the area that assisted us in providing information. Some of these bid proposals, a lot of people think, how complicated can that be? But they're anticipated, each proposal being 25 to 45 pages long to make sure that we are taking care of the service contract is for a 5-year window with two-year options afterwards. And of course, it spells out all the stipulations. We cannot and will not enter into an agreement until you all have reviewed the proposals and staff's commentary toward those. The next thing is the Exchange Club of Troutman and the Evening Exchange Club of Lake Norman should be visiting you next month to make the request so that they can do the fill the flags again. Just a reminder to everybody, last year, I think every one of us received all kinds of compliments about how patriotic it was for the town. But just so that we hopefully can get a better message of it out there this year, when those flags went up, it's before Armed Services Day. A lot of people seem to forget that holiday, but they went up before Armed Services so that we can be appreciative of all our military that are currently serving. They stay up because we definitely think our fallen heroes need more than one day, just as a reminder. So it was about a 9 or 10-day window, I believe, Emily. And then it will be concluded on Memorial Day with a service that they hope to exchange. But they should be here before you next month to make the request on that. Also on Wagner Street, the first unit that the town bought, Mayor, you Councilman Hinkle may have somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 years ago, I think, was that first unit. 5 years ago-ish.
Yeah.
But it is the upstairs residential part is about 85–90% done. The downstairs is the shell that it needs to be. We have had numerous inquiries of different possibilities of businesses, from bicycle shops, different food services, cigar bourbon option was one that's discussed. Office space was another. Before we make that available to the public, we do have one tenant remaining in the middle unit that was just purchased last year. As part of the agreement for the tenant being there so many years, we try to be as least invasive to them as possible. So that sometime before summer, it will be available because we will shift the tenant to the new unit until that one's remodeled and then move them back if they wish to stay. Or they can continue renting at the lot higher rate of the new one. The passport office work is continuing there. As we discussed, a lot of our citizens, some, I should say, not a lot, some of our citizens were confused as to why the town has purchased so much different property and all of this. Currently at Town Hall, we have 7 offices. That's it for everything, including the police department and all of that. When we purchased the house next door, the planning department got moved over there. They have 3 staff members, and it ironically has 3 offices, so there's no room for it to grow. We also finally, just within the last 6 weeks, got the CO for Parks and Rec. As we increase the staff there and shift the burden of work to where, just like Emily stated earlier, the Greenway falls under their umbrella now, as the Greenway is part of the park system. It always should have been, but we're just now incrementally getting there to where we can afford space and or the personnel to fall under that umbrella the way it should be. But again, that building only has 3 offices, so there's no room for everyone that's needed. Granted, most of Emily's staff are outside workers, but they still need to come in and do certain things, computer work, scheduling events, and things of that nature. But the passport office was purchased as part of our land use, as part of a master plan we had developed for possible downtown expansion. Mr. Mayor, I think that was 2018 that plan was adopted for Lytton Street extension, etc. Just a reminder to everyone, those properties were purchased, the residential ones, because of that plan. They have increased in value more than 50% since we bought them, and the tenants are then paying for them. So if and when the Lytton Street extension comes to fruition, that's property that's already owned, and hopefully the tenants will have paid for it, so it's not lost money. The passport office also offers a service during the planning sessions that we have in February. That will come up with a number as to how much money has already been a net profit to the town. But by offering passport services, if people want passports, they can go there. We have been getting outstanding reviews on that, and it's also a revenue generating service to the community. It don't cost anybody anything that don't want or don't need a passport. But for those that have, they've been very appreciative. We have the second location in Iredell County open so that they can utilize it. But that also allowed us to put our HR director in that office. Michael back here in the corner, as you all got to meet, is our new IT hire. He currently is trespassing down in the Parks and Rec building because the office down in the back there was not completed. That is nearing completion, and then he will get to move offices. But of course, as IT, he's having to go all around town, Public Works, and all the other offices. I would also like to state that per numbers that was provided to me today for how many water customers we have, in 4 years' time, the demand has doubled on our system as compared to the numbers that we had 4 years ago to the day. Our staff has went up about 27%, so we definitely have not used all this money. Everybody keeps saying we're finding everywhere. We are incrementally trying to use it as frugally as we can and still offer all the services that everybody expects. One piece I'll use as the obvious example that everybody can see is the park continues to progress annually with a new addition or something else that's going on, just like Emily mentioned this evening with the expansion of a sitting rest area near the splash pad. We just cannot go out with our budget and build everything that our citizens expect and want because of the budgetary restraints that we have. I would also like to thank all the citizens that came tonight to either just sit and watch or participated in the meeting for various aspects, but especially thankful that our beauty queens came and sat through here the entire meeting, and they have been very well educated on the Troutman government process. As you all know, sometimes we have visitors, but as soon as their announcement's over, they're gone. But both of our beauty queens sit here all night. I'm very appreciative of that, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Passport offices, outside of ours, where's another one in Iredell County? Passport office, I think you mentioned 2 in the county, am I
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Where's the other one?
Statesville Post Office.
It's still the post office then, okay, I didn't know,
Yes, sir.
okay, thank you.
That's the only other location in Iredell County currently.
And I will attest that weeks out in scheduling, if at all.
Excuse me?
Weeks out in scheduling.
The post office?
Yeah, the post office. Like, it's very difficult.
They are
Maybe even months.
months
Yeah.
normally, and hours is weeks.
Right, any other questions? Mr. Watt? Okay. I'd like to thank the Miss North Carolina and team for being here and sticking it out with us. Again, appreciate everyone else who stayed with us this evening and online as well. So with that,
Motion to adjourn.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? You're welcome to stay. Town manager.